More bad news for Ubisoft. The latest rumor claims that their most recent live service or games as a service shooter XDefiant might get scrapped after it has seen its player base completely evaporate over the course of the year. I mean, this game just came out in May, and it looks like it might be shutting down by the end of the year. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. I wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And this rumor comes to us from X-user Just for Leaks 2. And he wrote this: XDefiant is already dead. Ubisoft research team is actively asking their testers to have another in-house test session and give/repeat their feedback. Multiple sources told that it's possible that the game will end its support after Season 4 if they can't get enough players. So this game could end after its year one is over, which is the Season 4, I think, is the end of year one, which we'll get to here in a little bit. This is exceptionally terrible news for Ubisoft that has been faced with financial disaster after financial disaster this year. Obviously, Star Wars Outlaws probably being the most publicized, only selling 1 million copies in a month when they were expecting to sell at least 5 million, and that was a conservative estimate. Obviously, there's also reports and rumors that they spent between $650 and $850 million on Skull and Bones. That game literally has no one playing it, or almost no one playing it. If you look at the Steam DB numbers, we know that the Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, whatever that game is called, also seemingly did not sell well. And then even their latest Prince of Persia release does not look like it has sold well at all when it was just released on Steam after being on consoles. So this rumor is not out of left field. We have lots of other pieces of rumors and evidence that indicate that there could be, or this could be very, very true. Probably the biggest piece of evidence is what Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot said during the company's most recent trading update call. And he said that sales for XDefiant were below expectations, leading the company to significantly reduce its net bookings for its second quarter. Obviously, that was in kind of collaboration with Star Wars Outlaws having those absolutely poor sales. They reduced their net bookings outlook from 500 million euros to between 350 to 370 million euros. That's 30%. They cut their net bookings expectations by 30%. That is absolutely enormous. So this is what happened during the call. Nicholas Langlet of BNP Paribas questioned, so the Q2 guidance, is it only Star Wars Outlaws, or is there something else underperforming in the portfolio? And Guillemot responded, it mostly reflects the softer than expected sales for Star Wars Outlaws. We also had behind expectations for XDefiant, which we will give you a bit more detail at the end of October. So he says that they were behind expectations for XDefiant. And now we're having this rumor that says they might actually shut down if they don't increase their player base significantly. This was his comments here were radically different from how he spoke about this game during the company's first quarter sales report, where they touted the game's success, which launched its preseason on May 21st. He said at the time, the quarter notably saw the launch of XDefiant that is off to an encouraging start as we continue to grow the audience at a steady pace and plan a quarterly roadmap of content that will allow us to firmly establish the game over time. In that report, it also said this: the game that topped viewership charts acquired more than 10 million players within its first 2 weeks, with players praising the thrilling, fast-paced gameplay and the map variety. The game outperformed expectations thanks to acquisition and strong average revenue per session day. We had a report from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming claiming at the time of launch, the game had over 1 million unique players in its first 2.5 hours and over 8 million in its first week. Obviously, Ubisoft seemingly confirming those numbers, saying that they had acquired more than 10 million players within its first 2 weeks. So it looked really, really good. However, at the end of August, we got a new report from Tom Henderson where he said things were not looking good for XDefiant, and the game was seeing, quote, continuously declining player numbers and lack of player spending. He reported that one source informed him that, quote, the game has been struggling to obtain 20,000 concurrent players across all its platforms. That is absolutely abysmal when you look at its competitors, such as Apex Legends, Overwatch 2, Counter-Strike 2, etc. All those shooters all have way more than 20,000 concurrent players. I think the lowest was around 50,000. And I don't remember which game that was, but even then, that was on 50,000 was on the low end for a peak concurrent. And they're saying that we're struggling to obtain 20,000. Another source shared this. Ubisoft would probably be happy with that number. This suggests that the concurrent player number counts were much lower than 20,000 if they would have been happy with a 20,000 concurrent player number. In fact, Henderson also shared that if the game does not turn things around by season 3, it risks losing its much needed post-launch support. So obviously, Henderson said this turning around by season 3. We're now seeing this guy saying season 4 could be the end. So very similar things here from these two people. Unclear if their sources are the same or not. But we did have Ubisoft address Henderson's rumors, his report for the game in the middle of September when they released a roadmap for season 1. The game's executive game director, Mark Rubin, said this: I just want to quickly address the status of the game, i.e. is the game dying? No, the game is absolutely not dying. We know there are things we need to improve, like netcode, hitreg, and adding more content to progression, but the game is doing well. We just want it to do better. And we do that by addressing the concerns of our community, which has always been the plan. Ubisoft is very much behind us and has allocated more resources to the team in order for us to do that. To that point, he revealed the game's year 1 roadmap, which ends with season 4. You can see it right there on your screen. That is all they have announced so far for their roadmap. While Rubin claimed the game was doing well, we got a report literally the day that he made his comments from Sean Carey at True Achievements that noted that the game had fallen out of True Achievements' most popular Xbox games chart, which is based off a 2.4 million random sample of Xbox accounts. Carey noted that the game debuted in 5th on the charts back in May and even moved up to 4th before it slowly fell down the charts over the next 12 weeks. He noted the XDefiant Xbox player count has dropped an incredible 94%, and the shooter now sits in 81st place in our latest chart. That was back in the middle of September. That was September 18th, I think. September 18th, 19th, around there when that happened. So we're in October now. One can only imagine how much lower it has fallen. So I think this is absolutely terrible news for Ubisoft, but it is of their own making. They chose to embrace this business model. They chose to do this. They chose to kind of release this game. It's like they literally released a competitor for their own Rainbow Six Siege. For the most part, that's what it looks like to me, this live service shooter. Obviously, it's a very crowded market, and it does not look like they have anything unique that stands out. I'll admit I'm not a big shooter, but even this just doesn't. It looks generic. It looks generic, and then all the outfits and stuff like that just look lame. Look like they're trying to be modern audience and all this stuff. It's just not aesthetically pleasing. Doesn't really give me I'm actually fighting in a war or in a battle or anything like that. It's just it doesn't seem to treat its actual game very serious whatsoever. And obviously, you can have games like such as Fortnite that don't really treat it serious, but this game looks like it wants you to take itself seriously, but then it has this kind of aesthetic that says, don't treat me seriously. It gives a mixed message there just from that point of view. But that is what's happening with Ubisoft and XDefiant. It does not look like it is doing well. We've seen massive, massive player drops according to True Achievements there. We know that Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot has admitted that it was behind expectations, and we'll see how much it's behind expectations coming up during their half-year report. But we're seeing a rumor here now that it's possible that the game will end its support after Season 4 if they can't get enough players. It will be really hard, I think, for them to see a surge in player growth. You usually do not see that whatsoever unless they take the game off the market and then maybe relaunch it sometime in the future. But even then, I'm not really sure that will be the case. Looks like this game might be going the way of Concord. It just lasted a whole lot longer. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.